Here we are in Wyoming. Doesn't look like Wyoming as far as I ever thought. I thought Wyoming was pretty flat and barren and grassland and that kind of thing. But apparently there's, in the Rocky Mountains here, there is some beautiful areas. We are in a very remote area we found by looking at Google satellite maps.
This is we're very close to Elk Mountain, Wyoming.
There's an Elk Mountain everywhere. I noticed.
And its nearest recognizable city is Laramie, followed by Rawlins.
Yeah, we're about 60 miles west of Laramie. No.
Southwest.
Yeah, southwest of Laramie.
Yeah.
And,
there's a story about how we got here from there.
Oh, yes. It's very remote. It's up in the mountains.
Right. This is Medicine Bow Route National Forest. We're near the Bow River Campground.
Yeah, Medicine Bow River.
And what was the other landmark thing here?
I don't remember. This is Long Lake.
This is the Snowy Range.
We found this place up in Wyoming. We left Colorado and came up here. And it's about 4 hours from the last place we were at in Colorado.
Except it took us a lot longer to get here.
Oh, yes. So we had Google Maps running, which we usually use to great success. And this is a very remote spot. There's a campground about 2 miles away that is a Forest Service campground that doesn't have any water or anything like that.
I'd say
just
it's
spots.
About 90% abandoned.
Yeah, and we're not huge fans of campgrounds. I mean, we'll stay in them if we have to, or they're convenient. But mostly we like being out in the middle of nowhere. And this is what we got. So the problem with that is we probably should have parked in that campground and then scouted to this spot first, because when we turned onto the road, it had a sign that said
not maintained for public access.
And it's a single track road, very narrow. In fact, it's so narrow, the camper squeezed in between the trees all the way up that road about 1.5 miles to our campsite, which is next to a beautiful lake called Long Lake, which is about 50-50 open water and lily pads. It is covered with lily pads, like half the lake, which is amazing.
So we had talked about maybe camping at the organized campground here for one night while we scoped out where to actually put our rig for dispersed camping. And instead, because we had been dry camping down in Colorado before we came up here, we decided to spend the night at a KOA, or not a KOA, but
a campground, an organized,
an interstate campground. Yeah,
money cost campground.
Restock, refuel,
which we did.
Avail ourselves of plumbing and so on and so forth, and we did all that. So as a result, instead of coming here from
Colorado,
right, instead of directly from Colorado, we had a night. It was supposed to be a short drive to get here the next morning, and we figured, well, how hard could it be?
An hour and 20 minutes was the drive time, which is not bad.
No, considering this place is minimal 25 miles from a paved road.
However, it took us 4 hours because
for reasons totally unclear to us, while we were fueling up the truck at the travel plaza by the freeway in Laramie, the Google destination point, which had been set before we left camp, changed.
Magically changed to out in the middle of fuck all.
To a completely unrelated position on the planet.
Like what I picture Wyoming being, with the flats and the grass and the nothing.
And the wind.
And a wind farm.
And the rattlesnakes.
And prairie dogs.
And it had all that.
A million prairie dogs. And Yeah, it kept routing us. And we discovered this when we started looking around and going, boy, this really doesn't look like where we're supposed to be going. And it's been over an hour. And we discovered that Google had routed us an hour out of our way in a
Totally
tangentially different
destination.
direction. So
without discussion.
Right. So we kept putting our original spot back in, and it kept trying to get us to go into the nothing.
About every 3 miles to route us back to the corner of a wind farm.
Out in the middle of nowhere. With no trees, nothing. Just grasslands and dirt.
And we don't know why.
And we ain't got a clue.
So that bears more watching in the future, I think.
Yeah, we got to keep on it and not trust it.
And we have had other incidents with Google Maps.
It's the Chinese.
The fake restaurant thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's been actually gotten pretty common.
Yep. Restaurants that don't exist.
You do a restaurant search, and you'll find a listing for a restaurant in a place, and it'll seem legit. It'll have history.
And it doesn't exist.
Reviews and stuff, and you get there, and the address is like
a lawyer's office.
A trash
It's not even. Yeah, or it's somebody's house.
Or the new kind of Airbnb, which is just like a cardboard box with a rapist in it. Anyway, there's a lot of phantoms in Google Maps, apparently.
Yep, I don't know where that's coming from.
Especially if you're going out into the wilderness, be real careful about your maps. Have backup maps.
We have paper maps.
We have paper maps. We also use Avenza, which is a downloadable map, but the GPS in your phone will place you on it. So it's like a paper map, basically, with pinpoint accuracy.
Yep.
And we have downloaded for offline use Google Maps for remote areas when we don't think we'll have signal. Because it seems like being connected is a liability as far as navigation now.
Yep.
It really does.
So anyway, we
got hijacked. It added a huge chunk to our day. And that was, of course, another unpaved road.
Added a couple more hours.
Like 5 miles of washboard that we did for no good reason.
Yep.
Good
so
times.
When we finally got up here to where we were supposed to be, we turned onto that little single track road. And initially,
having scouted it in Google Maps, satellite view for the win,
and it looked good. The road looked good, and
it does. When you walk in it, it's a very clean, well delineated road.
Yes, but it's narrow. It's more for side by sides and maybe smaller vehicles. And we rubbed every tree coming up, and we had to actually stop a couple times. And Holly got out her saw and cut trees that were blocking the road or that were suspended above the road but low enough where the camper would have hit them. They had died and fallen across, and the other trees were holding them up.
So the beetle kill situation here is tremendous. Yep. I'd say probably 1 in 5 trees is standing dead and waiting to fall over, or not waiting to fall over. So it's a pretty hazardous bit of forest right now.
Yep.
As far as obstacles and blockages.
Yeah, the trees are just falling everywhere.
Mm-hmm. There's one that we're watching in the campsite, because if it fell, it would land right... So there's the tree, and then here's the camper, and there's the truck, and it would land right about there.
Yeah.
If it fell.
We might have to do something about it. But...
So,
anyway, it was harrowing getting up here, and we had to cut trees and all that. And this road, it would have been impossible to back out with the trailer. I mean, it would have taken 12 hours and lots of forward and back to get it out because it was so narrow and windy and just no clearance.
There's 2 spots where you could get your hopes up, but really this camping site is one of only 2 places in the entire road that you could turn around without having to figure out which trees you're going to have to take out to do it.
Yep. So we backed the camper up all the way into this campsite, which is amazing. This is a beautiful, beautiful campsite. It's one of the best. It's out in the middle of nowhere. There's no people around. There's no traffic noise. We don't hear trains. We don't hear any human.
Chunk of wood?
What?
we want another chunk
Sure.
of wood. So we haven't had
A
fire in, well,
Month?
all season pretty
All
much.
season, 'cause
Since
there's been burn
Alabama,
bans.
Since Arkansas. Did we burn in Arkansas?
Yeah, no.
No, I don't think
No,
we did.
didn't.
No, we haven't had fire since Alabama.
Since Alabama. So, yeah.
It's been a dry, fire hazardy kind of year, folks.
Yep. But up here, we've had some rain today. It rained quite a bit today. It was nice and cool.
66 degrees, I think, at the peak of the day.
Yep. Yeah, it was pretty cool today. And for all you people living in 100-plus
You poor
temperature,
bastards.
sorry.
We feel really bad for you guys.
This is part of the reason we travel around, is so we don't have to put up with the heat and the cold, and we can go to the middle.
At this moment, in addition to long pants on both of us,
Yes, I'm not wearing a kilt. It's
I'm
shocking,
wearing
isn't
a
it?
fleece hoodie and a shirt and a thermal undershirt.
Yep.
It's pretty cool, but also it helps with the mosquitoes. Oh, the mosquitoes.
Yeah, so many mosquitoes here. So, did I mention we're camped by a lake? It's a very still water up here. It's protected by, it's a decent sized lake, but it's
gotta
protected
be
by,
Springer Glacier
yeah,
fed.
there's no rushing water or anything.
It's
and,
clearly moving, but
and it's
very slow.
protected by the dense trees around it, and it's down in a bowl, so the wind really doesn't stir it up. So subsequently, it's a great habitat for mosquitoes. I have not heard any frogs out here, but it may be past their noise-making season, and I haven't seen any frogs, so that would explain why there's
I think the mosquitoes ate them.
a billion mosquitoes here.
So,
Do you want to talk about mosquito stuff?
yeah, and then we'll come back to other wildlife we haven't seen.
Yes. We've seen poop of the other wildlife.
We have seen a lot of poop.
Bear poop, deer poop,
Moose
elk
poop,
poop, and moose poop.
and possibly some kind of wild dog thing.
Yep.
A coyote or something.
Yep. And moose poop looks just like elk poop or deer poop. It's little round
A little
things,
bigger, a
except
little
they're about
fluffier.
egg size, small egg size.
Like quail eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, the most numerous form of wildlife here is mosquitoes.
Fire's helping.
The fire's helping. Yeah, my eyeballs are still turning into jerky, but that's okay. But when we don't have a fire, we're having to use different products to keep the little bastards off us. We both reek of bug spray. For those of you who have questions like, why don't you just use DEET? We use DEET. We have the Repel Sportsman Max 40% DEET formula.
None of these seem to work for biting flies.
Actually, the eucalyptus one works for the deer flies.
Oh, okay, good.
None of them work for, like, house flies.
Houseflies don't give a shit.
No.
Of course, they spend all their day on shit and garbage, so a bad smelling thing.
Yeah. Anyway, the Repel spray is good stuff. There's a dry feel version of it, which I prefer, but I don't know if it works as well. And I think it's more expensive. But, so there's that one. I like to spray this on my hat, my clothing, my shoes. I don't like to spray it on my person, but I do sometimes.
Yeah, it leaves a film, like
It's oily.
like an oily film that
baby
dries.
oil, kinda.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, what's the next one you've got there?
Okay, so the next one, Ranger Ready,
It seems to work pretty well.
Pick a Ride in 20%. This is a scent zero product, which, by the way, doesn't mean it doesn't smell like anything.
Yep, it's got smell.
It smells like chemicals. It smells like something bad happened to melon.
Yeah, it does. Smells like a rotting melon.
It does. Anyway, this one works pretty well. It claims 12-hour protection. I've yet to get more than about 4 hours out of anything.
Yep.
But that one's pretty good. Again, I tend to put it on my clothing. We put it on the chairs when we're going to be hanging around outside.
Yep. Because those little bastards will bite you right through the weave of the chair.
They will bite you right through the weave of your clothing.
Yes.
And they don't sleep at night. Now this one is mosquito anti-repellent. This is mosquitoes, ticks, gnats, biting flies, chiggers, and fleas. Have either of us gotten chiggers yet?
No, thank goodness. I don't want those.
That's a miracle, because we almost never spray about chiggers.
Yeah, I don't want chiggers. Thank you.
Alright, so...
My favorite.
Lee's favorite. Repel plant-based lemon eucalyptus insect repellent.
DEET-free.
DEET-free.
Seems to work pretty well.
Oil of lemon eucalyptus is 30%. Other ingredients is 70%. And,
the bugs don't like the flavor.
yeah, it says up to 6 hours. I've never got more than an hour out of it.
Yeah. I like it because it's the least chemical based. It's just natural ingredients, and it's not going to
Seems to be, yeah.
cause cancer and that kind of shit.
So, there's that one. I'm actually comfortable putting that one on the dog.
And it's gluten-free.
It is gluten-free. I believe it might even be vegan.
Oh, it's vegan.
It might be. Okay, so there's that one. This is another one we tried, a more natural one. This is citronella, lemongrass, cedarwood.
That one's called No Mosquitoes.
No mosquitoes with a Z. Okay, so no mosquitoes. We did our homework on what kind of non-chemical products would likely help. This one's separated.
Oh, right. Shake it. And last.
Anyway, this one helps. It's not great, but it's not like spraying yourself down with water. And then my personal favorite, this is absolutely effective for a very short period of time. This is catnip oil spray.
And it makes the cats really happy.
And it is literally water, surfactant, and catnip oil. It works really well to keep mosquitoes away. It also leads to domestic violence
By
with
your
the two cats.
Yeah. So if you're not going to be around the cats, it's great. Douse yourself in catnip oil.
Right.
And the mosquitoes will leave.
So this one actually worked when we were near Salt Lake and encountered the densest cloud of mosquitoes
Jesus.
I've ever seen in my life.
You're filming clouds of mosquitoes?
I am. Did we share the video of that swarm?
Oh, yes.
I think you
What?
had it, yeah.
Yeah. To my knowledge, catnip doesn't do anything for any bugs except mosquitoes. And then we got this thing, which is,
Thermocell.
yeah, it's a mosquito torch. It's basically an air freshener dealie with a infuser oil cartridge.
And it puts out a little wisp of smoke.
It makes a
You can
tiny
hardly
vape
see.
of repellent, but it seems to work pretty well.
Yeah, in an
and it
area
does
that's-
actually not smell like anything.
in an area where it's not breezy and maybe slightly enclosed, like
Yeah.
under a picnic
Right,
tent or
under a
something.
shelter in a screen tent.
Yeah, that would be a good use for it. But out here, it just wafts away.
It did okay at the park in Brighton.
Because it wasn't windy at all.
Yeah,
it was just
that's
like
true.
it was. Yeah, there was no breeze.
Anyway, it's USB, micro USB rechargeable. We got it at Costco. That's probably them or Amazon is the best place to get the
Yep.
cartridge. But this does work under certain circumstances.
Also, apparently, sitting by the fire helps a little bit.
Well, there's no
Because if
oxygen
we were
left.
sitting on the other side of the camper,
Yeah.
they'd be eating us. I think because they use infrared and CO2 to detect, and the fire is putting out vast amounts of both, so it kind of confuses it. But it is pretty here. It's very beautiful.
This is the most remote, most wilderness place we've managed to get to so far.
Yep, and it was harrowing to get up in here, but we did it. And we have a little scratch down the side of the camper.
Yep.
But it's all good. But we will scout next time.
Yeah.
We got lucky that we were able to make it up the road and get into this campsite without having to back all the way a mile and a half down the road. But it was worth it. It's very beautiful and very quiet here, and we haven't heard any sign of humans.
Wow. Except for the two parties the first day and the couple yesterday.
Yep. On the little side-by-side.
Yeah.
See, they had the right vehicle for coming up the road.
They did.
They went to go fishing.
They couldn't get to the water, though. There's no shore access, really.
We actually found shore access walking through the woods that way. And we found a good access where there's no lily pads. The part of the lake without the lily pads.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I'll fish. I don't even know if there's fish in that lake.
Well, yeah,
I doubt they stock it.
Well,
but you never know.
The
water's got to come from somewhere.
Right, we don't know how well the water connects to other water during different times of year.
Yep.
I mean, this is pretty lush, but this has got to be getting toward a drier season.
I have not seen fish jumping. Have you?
No, but I haven't really been looking for it either.
Yeah, we haven't been in the open area. It's been the lily pad area. There's a lake behind Holly covered with lily pads. If we go that way through the woods for about half mile, quarter mile, we can get to the open water. We have our Starlink, which works really well out in the middle of nowhere.
Although, surprisingly, we have cell signal up here.
Yep, 1 bar. And
not consistently, but messages and news and things come and go.
Lily pads as far as the eye can see. And the lake curves around that way, and where it curves around that way, it's open water.
Did you walk down to the edge? There's a little path.
I'm not going all the way. Oh, I will.
It'll be cool coming back up. So you can see all the fallen trees. It's like that everywhere here. That's not an exceptionally tree-covered slope right there. That's everywhere here.
Makes for good firewood.
Yes, it burns like a dream. It even smells better than average firewood. So there's all kinds of flowers down here. I think I just heard a fish jump. We did see a pair of ducklings yesterday, way over on the other side of the lake. maybe 2 months
Oh!
old. Oh!
Oh, they're so cute!
You ruined they're running. They're not even swimming.
Yeah, they didn't even try to swim away. They ran away across the water. So this slope is pretty representative of the terrain here.
Also, we're at 9,000 feet, so that may be why we don't see frogs and turtles.
Yeah. Or catfish. So, in a lot of parts of the forest, these little berries have ripened to a soft red. Ah, there's Lee. show the slope here with all the trees on it.
Yep, dead trees all
Everywhere,
over the place.
everywhere.
It's about 30% dead tree.
Well, I don't know. If you count all the babies, I think it's probably more like 20% dead tree. But for mature trees,
Yep.
it's probably close to 60-40.
We've got our solar panels. Of course, today it wasn't very sunny.
And yet,
We still got a full charge. That's what happens when you've got 2 kilowatts of solar. So, yep, the firewood burns really good. And,
thanks to Shane and his
Shane.
axe wrangling.
yep. So we found a axe at the ranch that was probably 70 years old. It was out in the middle of the trees where nobody had been for a long, long time. And the handle was rotted and desiccated, and since it is New Mexico, the blade was rusty, but it wasn't consumed by rust like in other parts of the country. And the handle was just a skeleton. Wasn't much left of it. Anyway, gave it to Shane, and he made this. And it is so sharp you can shave with it. But that's what I cut the firewood with. It worked out really good. Thank you, Shane. He gave an old axe a new life.
Yep.
It was cold today. We went on a walk and checked out the road going out just to get an idea of what we'd have to cut on the way out. And it doesn't seem too bad. Of course, coming in was scary when you saw how close the trees were. It was just very narrow, wrapping around the camper, knocking the mirrors on the truck in. It was really tight. Really tight. Do you have anything to add, madam?
I guess not. I was just thinking this podcast might be too long.
All right. Well, then we bid you adieu from the woods.
Peace out, yo.